A Xerox special television event. Tonight, A Nation of Immigrants, based on the best-selling book by John F. Kennedy.
You want to know what America is? It's what a Turkish visitor said to me. A pluribus unum, your national motto, one out of many. And that's what we really made America.
My people are from Ireland, and my children are the 13th generation of Dutch.
I'm French, English, and Irish. Sort of a Anglo-Saxon cross mixture, really.
Well, my parents are Russian, and I'm married to an Italian now, so I call myself Italian.
I'm an American first, and I'm French, and I'm English second.
I'm a Russian. My background is Russian. I'm an American.
Well, I'm Irish and German and Hungarian, but I do have an uncle that's a Sioux Indian, so I suppose he's sort of the only true American in the whole family.
For 360 years, from 5 continents, they have been coming, seeking a promised land, not knowing that they were the promised themselves. This is the story of the greatest migration in history, the making of a nation of immigrants.
This country, free country, good country, I hear, is very good. I love come here, you see, I come.
A Nation of Immigrants is brought to you by Xerox Corporation and its worldwide affiliates, who are in the business of making it easier for people to understand one another.
This is Ellis Island. It's been shut down for 14 years, but for 51 years before that, it was called the Golden Door by the 16 million immigrants who landed here. President Kennedy said that we are a nation of immigrants, and we are. A few of us, to be sure, have ancestors who waved from the shore when landings were made at Jamestown or Plymouth Rock. And some of us are descended from those who were brought here unwillingly. But for the rest of us, we are here because we have ancestors who migrated or because we migrated ourselves. The fact is, the truth is, that we all got off a boat. And we all came for the same reason, to be free. Free to rise as far as our energies and our talents would take us. Free to speak out, free to think as we wished, free to make a better life for our children, and perhaps most importantly of all, free to set down roots. Those men and women and children who left these halls took very little with them, perhaps no more than those who left Jamestown or Plymouth or New Orleans or San Francisco, no more than my great-grandfather took when he left Noddle's Island in East Boston. But each one brought a unique and a precious gift to America, and that was himself.
I will write you a letter for now. I will write you a letter for now. Hope is a message that survives somehow. I will write you I will help the strangers I meet. I will help the strangers I meet. It is possible to get back on our feet. I will help the strangers I meet. And the ones we love who are gone. And the ones we love who are gone. We remember the story. songs for the ones we love who are gone. And on the day we are together again, on the day we are together again, I will pull you in close like a hoop with a wind. On the day we are together again.
For Albert Einstein, a German Jew, welcome. To a new land, he would lend genius. Igor Sikorsky, Russian, helped give us wings. Joseph Pulitzer, Hungarian, vitalized our journalism. Felix Frankfurter, Austrian, our law. Alexander Graham Bell, Scottish, gave us the telephone. Enrico Fermi, Italian, fathered the atomic age. Victor Herbert, Irish, captured an era in music. Éleuthère du Pont, French, founded the chemical empire. Samuel Gompers, English, the American Federation of Labor. Charles Steinmetz, German, formulated new directions in electricity. Famous or unknown, newcomers or sixth-generation citizens, these are the children of the immigrants who built America. The inheritors of a dream conceived in a dark, medieval continent. In the 15th century, the world is flat, and the destiny of the ordinary European is drawn on a single plane. Bounded by monarchy, sealed by centuries of tradition, a man lives a life of unchanging status. His future shaped from birth, hopeless. He dreams of mythical lands of many names. An El Dorado, Atlantis, Utopia, New Canaan. Soon the dream will focus on a single name, America. A barren sea protects and conceals a secret continent. Four billion years of isolation have veiled vast plains with dark forests, gouged canyons with swift rivers, thrust up young mountains. The land quivers with naked wealth, unconquered and proud. For 20,000 years, this serene land has been the sole province of the Indian. But soon Europeans will wrench the land from his hands and degrade his descendants. Etched on sandstone walls of sacred cliffs are the records of Spanish conquistadors who came not out of principle, but to plunder. After 100 years, the adventurers in the sea give way to yet a different yearning and a different people. In the early 1600s, English immigrants, debtors, outcasts, idealists, come to settle in America, all seeking new opportunity. 3,000 miles from familiar shores, they pursue a covenant of freedom in a hostile land. In the first winter, more than half will perish. In crude shelters, the tenacious few survive famine and disease. Unknowingly, they are building a heritage of hardship and endurance for all the immigrants who will follow. A seed has been planted. Called hope, it will spread from Plymouth to Savannah, Charleston, New Haven, New Amstel. By 1770, over 2 million are scattered across the Atlantic seaboard, linked by the struggle for survival and the ideal of British law. The first colonists find no easy fortunes, and few leave any behind. Yet theirs will be a priceless legacy paid for in blood, that each would have his own voice in his own destiny. In Philadelphia, colonists of 7 national origins can fulfill that pledge. With his pen as weapon, each man is empowered to strike the beginning of the end of 169 years of British dictate and dependence. In firm conviction, a steadfast Thomas Jefferson rallies the indecisive few to total commitment. For a long summer, the destiny of a nation hangs in the balance. Then 56 men come forward to sign a Declaration of Independence, staking their lives on an ideal of liberty. Few realize that the cause of freedom that would sustain the infant nation in war would in the years to come beckon to immigrants from all over the world.
You don't really realize how free, how lovely is this country.
The democracy is something you want to run. You're very enthusiastic for the democracy. This is the forest government of Greece, democracy, all right? But the king is nothing. I'm not interested at all for king. Because you can't talk, you can't be free. If you say something for king, you run. The police pick you up and go in jail. But democracy, you can talk, you can run, and you be more enthusiastic to talk.
I didn't come here because I was hungry of food, but I was hungry of liberty, freedom, freedom. This is my food.
Take this downstairs, tell them you need 12 copies made right away.
When you need a lot of copies in a hurry, does it sometimes seem to take forever? What you may need is a do-it-yourself duplicator. No stencils or masters to make. You put the original down, dial the number of copies you want, push a button, and out come 40 copies a minute. Who has such a machine? Xerox. Who can tell you about it? A Xerox analyst. While you're waiting, give him a ring.
In 1848, a young farmer left Ireland fleeing hunger and oppression, bound for a new world and a new life. 115 years later, his great-grandson returns.
When my great-grandfather left here to become a cooper in East Boston, he carried nothing with him except two things: a strong religious faith and a strong desire for liberty. And I'm glad to say, that all of his great-grandchildren have valued that inheritance. If he hadn't left, I'd be working over at the Albatross Company. Or perhaps for John V. Kelly.
For the Kellys and the Kennedys of the 1800s, English castles marked the tyranny of foreign rule. For 700 years, the Irish have been tenant farmers on their own land. Drained of their wealth, they must rely on the meager potato crop for survival. They will cling to their native soil until even it forsakes them. When the potato crops fail, famine becomes the new invader.
Oh, we're down in the dust, over here, over here.
With callous indifference, a hardened English monarchy is deaf to the Irish plight. In 10 years, over 2 million die of famine and typhus.
In the dust, but the Lord in whom we trust will repay us crumb for a crust, over here, over here.
Faced with annihilation, they must leave. Like the English exiles before them, the Irish will stake their fortunes on the whispered promise of a virgin land. With luck, the journey will take only 40 days. Crammed 1,000 to a ship, 1 in 10 will never reach shore. In the first 5 years, nearly 1 million Irish arrive in American cities. They are farmers without money or skills. They find a bitter 4-word welcome. No Irish need apply. With one commodity to barter, their brawn, they begin to build the cities and canals and their own place in America. Soon water ties harden to steel. The iron horse needs manpower. The Irish need money.
In 1841, I put my corduroy breeches on, I put my corduroy breeches on to work upon the railway. Fill-a-me-oo-re-oo-re-ay, 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 to work upon the railway.
For 5 years, the Irish work from the east, 10,000 Chinese immigrants from the west. Together, they will bridge a continent.
In 1842, I left the old world for the new. I left the old world for the new to work upon the railway. Fill-a-me-oo-re-oo-re-ay, 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 to work upon the railway.
With a final golden spike, east meets west at Promontory Point, Utah, in 1869. A photographer captures the sharing of a democratic cup of success. But the official engraving omits not only the cup, but the Irish and Chinese laborers as well. Now the center of a young nation is opened. Its vast, unused interior beckons to a troubled, crowded continent. In the mid-19th century, revolt sweeps Central Europe in protest to centuries of oppression. Their uprisings crushed by ruthless monarchies. The desperate survivors must flee.
You must remember that where they came from was medieval. They weren't permitted.
Author, educator, and historian Leo Roston, himself an immigrant, describes the world from which they fled.
You know the famous story of the man who was drowning? And the police were standing there laughing at him, and he was yelling, "Help, help," and the police laughed and said, "Look at that dirty pig or that dog drowning." And this poor man going down, it suddenly occurred to him there was one way he might save himself, so he yelled, "Down with the Tsar!" So the police jumped in, rescued him, and arrested him for subversive activities or seditious utterance. This is quite a different world, you see. Police, secret police, terror, fear, religious persecution, all of that ended.
Now the lavish promises of a distant nation are translated into a dozen different tongues. Kom till Amerika, yo idi jarash, Miliona aftona land, Versuch dein Glück, fruchtbar jur, America, the land of milk and honey. In quest of this paradise, Scandinavian Zemans flock to American shores, their heads filled with visions of fertile plains. They push into the interior to find this land where cabbages grow as tall as a man. But the fabled soil turns out to be a brown, arid wasteland, baked dry by centuries of sun. They must build without wood or stone, construct with sod, patch with buffalo dung. 2,000 miles into a strange land, facing countless hardships. But somehow, they will transform the fallow land and endure. They will even begin to prosper. An immigrant writes, "In only 1 year, I have acquired the following property: 1 cow, a year-old pig, 2 oxen, and 40 acres of land. For the first time, I am happy. Once a people without land, they have met and begun to conquer a land that was once without people. By 1880, the soil they found, brown and barren, yields 450 million bushels of wheat. They have created what will remain, the breadbasket of the world. But wheat is not enough. Black smoke signals a new era with a voracious appetite for coal. From Poland, from Czechoslovakia and Lithuania, the grandfathers of these men come to the coal fields of Pennsylvania and West Virginia. In a single day, one man digs enough coal to forge a ton of steel. Their children work at their sides, and today their grandchildren bear witness.
My grandfather come from Lithuania to this country, to Ashley, started to work to Hubert Colliery. Then my father come from Lithuania, worked in Hubert Colliery for 45 years, took ill and sick and died. Then during the Depression there were no work. Then we took his footsteps and went in the coal regions to work together.
They come from the bowels of Europe. A Nielsen to dig iron, a Holtzman to form steel, a Macintosh to drill oil, all to build a nation. Tapping another resource, rough hands put 3 trillion board feet of lumber to work. From clearings in the wilderness will grow a Council Bluffs, a Grand Forks, a Wichita, an Albuquerque, Fort Worth, Spokane, Denver, Omaha, Chicago. To them, the Mergenthalers, Guggenheims, Weyerhauses, and Cuddihy's bring their singular gifts. The burgeoning cities soon give substance to a dream. A man, if not a cabbage, can grow as tall as he wishes to be.
Never in history has there been such a tempestuous ferment of possibilities that you can get a genius physicist who was the son of a man who shot horses, that you could get a great composer out of a man who worked in the coal mine. These were not the elite. These weren't the favored sons of the rich or of the well-born. These were the scum, so-called, in an earlier generation. And suddenly the world realized that you never know where the next idea comes from, and in a sense that there's nothing greater than an idea, and that the greatest resource the human race has is in its people.
I'm going to play a little joke on my secretary. She just came back from her vacation, and she doesn't know our Xerox 2400 was delivered while she was away. Miss Jones, now that you're back, I want things to be more efficient around here. Will you please make 160 copies of this report? I'll need them in 4 minutes.
Gee, Mr. Smith, I'm not sure we can make 160 copies in 4 hours. I have to make a master first, and then I have to get one of the girls to come in and help me proofread it, and then I have to wait in line for central duplicating, and the machine has to be cleaned, and the rollers have to be inked, and we'll have to run some test copies.
Miss Jones.
Sir?
Not 4 hours, Miss Jones. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. If you can't handle it, I'll do it myself. Original here. Set the dials. 1, 6, 0. Press a button. 40 copies a minute. Clickety-click.
Your 4 minutes are up.
And here are the 160 copies.
Oh, we got our new Xerox 2400, and you didn't tell me. You shouldn't scare the wits out of a girl, just to make a funny commercial.
In 1875, the French begin the creation of a very special American lady. Conceived by sculptor Auguste Bartholdi, this gift of the French nation will come to symbolize the continuing friendship of the two democracies. While French hammers pound copper into massive forms, Americans struggle to raise funds for the pedestal. In desperation, publisher Joseph Pulitzer appeals for donations. From the nickels and dimes of immigrants, he raises the needed $250,000. At last, in 1886, the Statue of Liberty begins her endless vigil, towering 315 feet above the waters of New York Harbor. Her torch is visible for miles, but her promise of opportunity is limitless. The power of that promise was witnessed by Edward Steichen, immigrant, now Dean of American Photographers.
My mother decided that she wanted her boy to be brought up in America. What she had read and letters she had received from friends over there convinced her that that was the land that had the greatest opportunities, and that's what she wanted me to have. My mother frequently told me what an overwhelming experience she had when she first landed at Castle Garden, when her feet were on the American soil. This was the realization of a dream.
In the decade between 1900 and 1910, the wave of immigrants reaches tidal proportions. More than 8 million leave the old world, fleeing the age-old specters of hunger and persecution, determined to carve a better existence. For the vast majority, crowded like cattle into steerage class, the price of opportunity is $12. Soon, cholera, dysentery, yellow fever, and smallpox will be their companions. But conditions do not really matter. They are leaving behind the sorrows of Ptolemais, Saratov, Campobasso, Sescalipa, Poznan. They are on their way to a dream. Charlie Chaplin, with incisive wit, captures the pathos of the crossing in this scene from his film, The Immigrant. As the Statue of Liberty is sighted, cautious optimism explodes into joy. At last, America, the land of promise. Less than 1/2 mile from the welcoming lady lies the ominous reality of Ellis Island. Preferential treatment will protect all first and second class passengers. They will be examined aboard ship. But for all in steerage class, Ellis Island will be their first taste of the promised land. For many, their last. Their shoes still dusty with the dirt of their homeland, bewildered but happy to be on American soil, they start the ragged parade into the main building. Now, together but alone, they await the new beginning. Inside, they are classified and counted. then herded into the main dining room, where 5,000 mouths are fed, 5,000 stomachs filled. It is a time for rumor, too. Stories spread. They listen to what lies ahead. Their dreams become edged with doubt. First, there is a medical examination. The journey of 3,000 miles may end here with a single cough, a small rash. An X crosses all language barriers. It means another, closer examination. Some will try to hide deformities, but the cold gaze of the doctors is unmerciful. A moment's decision may seal the fate of an entire family. For many, dreams end in one word: deportee. The fortunate must face a new ordeal. Their hallowed family traditions are placed in jeopardy with a single question: what is your name? A famous conductor remembers.
He said to me, "What's your name?" I said, "Stokowski." He said, "That's a foreign name. You can't have a name like that." I said, "That's my name." He said, "I will give you another name." I said, "Thank you very much, but that was my father's name, my grandfather's name, my great-grandfather's name, and it'll stay my name."
A probing interrogation is the next obstacle. With as many as 5,000 immigrants processed each day, they have 2 minutes to answer 38 questions. 25% of all rejections will occur in these 2 minutes. The tension and the terror are recounted by Italian immigrant and opera star Salvatore Baccaloni.
Every moment, point me with the big finger, the long finger, and make me. You, with 2 black eyes, I remember the eyes of that man is terrific. Make me a little in apprehension, nervous, because when you are in this kind of situation, you are a man, continue far. You, it make me 12 or 14 questions, 40 times. The same question, it change every time is the question.
The ordeal is over. Now, each is stamped with his final destination. They have given up their tools and trades, sold their horses, chickens, and cows, left behind small farms and businesses. There is no turning back. Suspended between past and future, the vast majority with no grasp of English, they cling to a vision even Ellis Island could not erase. Soon they will enter the cities of a land where all the streets are paved with gold. Lost among the unfamiliar sights and sounds, alone, frightened, without friends, they soon form their own world. Its center is the marketplace. Opportunity may mean a pushcart and something to peddle. An entire day may bring 90 cents, the price of survival for a man and his family. On the Lower East Side of New York City, 600,000 make their home in an area less than a mile square. A single tenement holds 500 immigrants. Home, 5 stories up, is an escape from the street and a return to the family. Here, in the stench and heat of austere rooms, with little sunlight or privacy, they find a place to cook and to gossip, to make love and bear children, a place to reminisce and ponder their fate. A place to live and a place to die. With skill and infinite endurance, they toil to mend threadbare dreams. They stitch seams, tailor suits and dresses, sewing patterns for garments they cannot yet afford to own. No hand is too small or too old to stitch gloves, fashion paper flowers. Sustained through toil, they will find their dwindling faith restored. As they rebuild their dreams, they are shaping the destiny of America as well. Laboring in sweatshops for 6 cents an hour, their skilled hands are creating the largest clothing industry in the world. But it is immigrant brawn that will stretch a skyline from 10 to 60 stories. Immigrant muscle that will fashion subways and skyscrapers from cement and steel. Immigrant power that will sustain an America moving into the mainstream of the 20th century. But the way out of the ghetto lies not in muscle, but in the mastery of English. The immigrant day laborer becomes night school student. Leo Roston affectionately recalls the struggle and the excitement of finding another tongue.
And so they get great pleasure out of learning this is tap, bit, hop, tub, pet. And then you say, now look what happens if we add an E. Tap becomes tape. Bit becomes bite. By this time you can hear the excitement in the room. Hop becomes hope. Now they are excited because they're learning a principle. It isn't just the dull repetition of a small piece, a small increment to knowledge, but a guiding principle. And remember, these people have not heretofore known that in language you have this sort of structure, of rule, of morphology. And so when you tell them tub becomes tube, and then pet becomes Pete, which is a name, and because it's a name, we change the small p to a capital P, this lesson will carry them for a week. Now, don't forget these were adults, and so they brought to bear on the problems of language experience. If you said, for example, what's the opposite of bad? B-A-D. Well, most people will say good, right? They would say happy. Suppose you said, what's the opposite of rich? I'll never forget the time I heard someone say skinny. Well, obviously, a rich person is well-fed, and he shows it. A skinny person is poor. Therefore, the opposite of rich is skinny. Or, if you're dealing with parts of speech, bad, worse, one fellow says rotten. Well, how much worse can it be than rotten? Or, good, better, high class. Or, parts of speech, fail. Failed, bankrupt. Now, Mr. Kaplan knew very well that if you failed 3 times, you were bankrupt.
It is to the children that each immigrant passes on his unquenchable hope. For the children will not surrender the dream. Raised in the squalor of the Lower East Side, their inheritance is more than a pushcart or a sewing machine. Trapped in a struggle for survival, their mothers and fathers have willed them the key to escape. Faith in a world of opportunity which they could not seize. But life in the streets was not all ambition or toil. A lot could be done with a penny. With their new friends, these children, without trying or perhaps knowing, are fulfilling an old promise. As all others before them, they are becoming no longer the children of immigrants, but Americans, and together, America itself.
Good morning.
Could I have 6 copies of this letter right away? Are those copies back yet?
Hi. Hey, George, Mr. Thompson needs 50 copies of this right away.
Come on, you're gonna have to wait your turn. There are 3 girls ahead of you. Sincerely yours, J.J. Smith. See that everybody gets a copy, will you? In the afternoon mail.
Oh, no?
No, not that one.
Well, Bill, why don't you pass out the copies of the report?
Well, if you can. Well, is it current? No, the current report wouldn't be.
The accounting,
Xerox makes all kinds of copiers and duplicators. But machines alone can't solve all your problems. Even Xerox machines. What you need is a complete office copying and duplicating system. That's why there are Xerox analysts. They come into your office and figure out where copies are needed and how fast. And then our analysts put the right machines in the right places at the right cost. You say it takes you longer to get a memo across the hall than a letter across the country. You get invited to Thursday's meetings on Friday. Lie down and tell us all about it.
I ask you, in the name of patriotism, which loved America, to carry it on to victory.
The voice of twisted patriotism echoes an age-old fear that lay deep in the American past, that a nation carved out of a wilderness would be lost forever to strangers.
I ask you, if you will rise in your places and pledge with me to restore America to the Americans.
Who were these privileged men who felt that they were entitled to call the land their own? 200 years before, the Indians had already found that others more powerful would benefit from the self-proclaimed title, True American. Confined to barren reservations, they learned that their own lands, once taken, were never again to be shared. Yet even when the white man possessed the soil, he would hold others in bondage to make it flourish. Negro slaves, immigrants in chains, were shipped across an ocean to farm a land whose harvest others would reap. It would be 300 years before they could begin to fulfill their own destiny as Americans. Throughout America's history, each new immigrant wave had to face the suspicion and often the hatred of the waves which had come before. To the Irish, who built the cities and canals, bigots awarded the titles of Micks and Paddies. The Germans, whose endurance saw a fallow land prosper, were baboons and krautheads. Chinese, whose raw labor would shape an expanding West, became Chinks and Yellow Devils. As a great wave of new immigrants thrust America into the 20th century, the intolerant were not at a loss for invective. Polacks, Bohunks, Spics, Dagos, Sheenies, Frogs, and Kikes. In 1919, jeers and taunts explode into blind rage. The Bolshevik Revolution terrified Americans, who thought Russia their trusted ally. In the wake of bitter disillusionment, Russian immigrants were convenient scapegoats for an anxious America. As hysteria swept the nation, 5,000 immigrants were arrested in a single day. Only a handful were communist agitators. The vast majority were merely innocent victims of another misguided attempt to purify the nation. At the rate of 250 a month, they were deported to Russia, and a grim future that most had come to America to escape.
Welcome home, welcome, welcome, emigrante, to the country that I love.
In America, in the prosperous 20s, there were those who felt they could afford the hollow luxury of blind prejudice. In gentle whispers, daughters of the American Revolution gave the name American an exclusive ring. In pompous convocation, they fed pride with medals and oratory. In hoarse bellows, others paid homage to a pure America, a land purged of Catholics, Negroes, Jews, or foreigners. In shrill militancy, the Ku Klux Klan brandished blind suspicion under the convenient banner of super-patriotism. A shroud of intolerance swathed Ellis Island in silence. In the 1920s, Congress had passed restrictive quota laws, stifling immigration for all but the elite, Nordics and Anglo-Saxons. In halls that once resounded with the din of hope, an ominous hush signaled that the ragged, joyful parade was over. A frightened, isolationist America had rejected the very source of its greatness. For nearly 25 years, liberty's promise is spoken in a muffled whisper. Then at Buchenwald, Auschwitz, Dachau, the Nazis devised their own quota system. Before the anguish and the horror, old quota restrictions crumble. Dazed survivors seek to mend shattered lives. 400,000 displaced persons find refuge in America. For 2 years, the exodus continues as the nation makes exceptions to its rigid laws. On May 13, 1950, 12-year-old Dasi Epermanis, an unknown Latvian immigrant, now a successful attorney, finds herself a celebrated American.
I was chosen the 150,000th displaced person just before leaving Germany for the United States. Apparently they were looking for a girl, preferably from the Baltic states, with long braids. Just when we were ready to disembark in New York, I was told to make a little speech. Well, I did not have enough English, really, to write the speech. So Dad wrote it, and I gave it.
I am very glad today to see my new country. I have heard so much good and wonderful about. With my first step in this wonderland, may God help me to find my place among other children, where I could feel as happy as they are.
I believe that America has been about everything we've expected it to be, and perhaps a little more.
But for hopeful thousands who crowd U.S. embassies all over the world, a rigid American law yields no exceptions. Like others before them, these immigrants seek to escape illiteracy, hunger, political oppression, to grasp opportunities denied them since birth, to rejoin loved ones already in America. But their dreams will flicker, fade, and die. With a strict quota of 300 a year and a waiting list of 100,000, it would be 300 years before this Greek woman could receive permission to live in America.
The present statute has overtones of discrimination. The idea behind this discrimination was, to put it boldly, that English or Irish names were better and better citizens than Americans with Italian or Greek or Polish names, and such a concept is utterly unworthy of our traditions and our ideals.
In 1965, Lyndon Johnson, fulfilling a pledge of John F. Kennedy, writes into the past the prejudice of a national origin quota system. But the story of immigration is not set down in changing law, It is inscribed in the unending struggle of distant, nameless people, sustained by her promise. In Seoul, Korea, a city of 3 million, her beckoning torch seeks out a single hut made of mud and cardboard cartons. Inside, 4 children are alone. Before their mother died, their father had gone off in search of a better existence for his family. They are waiting for his message that years of loneliness and separation can end. In America, their father is a furniture craftsman. Like German farmers or Irish laborers a century before, Chanbom Lee works for the day when his family can follow him to America. His dwelling a single room, his food the bare minimum for survival. Lee is sustained by one desire, to earn the price of passage for his sons. 3 years before, he left Korea to seek new opportunity in America. From meager wages, he has put aside a few dollars each week. Now, patient years have garnered 3 plane tickets for his children. Lee's sons, like countless immigrant children before them, leave the only home they have ever known. Kwang helps his younger brothers pack everything they own into one small bag. Because of tuberculosis, he must remain behind. A journey across the sea that once took 5 months, accompanied by hunger, disease, and death, is now a jet hop of only 18 hours. For Chanbom Lee, the reunion bought with 3 years of sacrifice is at hand. For 3 young Americans, the adventure is just beginning.
Everybody loves Saturday night.
Together with their classmates, Lee's children, as the children of all immigrants yet to come, will share a heritage of many tongues.
Everybody loves Saturday night.
That's fine. Let's try it in French.
Tout le monde aime Saturday soir.
If they are the destiny of America, a country of countless nationalities, carved out of an untamed wilderness, they are also ourselves. For the epic of this migration is more than a monument to the human spirit. It is more than the forging of a proud nation. It is that nation.
We are about to visit another corporation that's a customer of Xerox, China City in Salem, Oregon. Mr. Chin.
Oh, hi.
We understand you have a Xerox 813 copier.
Oh, yes, I show you. This is our kitchen. We cook American food over here, Chinese food over there. Hi, you good? Nothing. And here's our Xerox 813. We use Xerox 813 to copy bills, letters, receipts, but the most important thing is to print menus. Every day we had a different specialty. Sometimes Mandarin chicken, Mandarin duck, so we print different menu every day with the Xerox 813.
Mr. Chin, if China City can afford a Xerox 813, how expensive can it be?
Well, it costs as much as about 2 bowls of fried rice.
That's a little more than $1 a day. What do you think of the Xerox 813?
It's a very good machine. The copies are very easy to make, very clean, and very sharp. Can I say just one more thing?
Why, yes, Mr. Chen.
And next time you come into Salem, Oregon, if you want a good Chinese meal, stop in and I fix you my best fried chicken omelet.
Xerox Corporation.
I will support and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America against all enemies.
In the courtroom of Judge William P. Gray, 300 people pledge proud dedication to their chosen land. Why they made this journey and what their new life will bring, no man can say. They are Americans now, and only one thing matters, that they came, that they will always be welcome.
Congratulations, my fellow Americans. I expressed at the outset pleasure and a sense of responsibility in having this opportunity to be the first of your fellow citizens to welcome you. This is a greeting on behalf of your new fellow citizens who are glad to have you join us in the responsibilities, the joys, and the privileges of being citizens in our country.
Congratulations, sir. Good luck, sir. Congratulations. Nice to have you.
Thank you, Judge.
Yes, indeed.
Nation of Immigrants has been brought to you by Xerox Corporation and its worldwide affiliates, Rank Xerox Limited and Fuji Xerox, who are in the business of making it easier for people to understand one another.